August evening in Edmonton, 1992. The city marks the 100th anniversary of its incorporation as a town with the official opening of a new city hall. It's a time to celebrate achievement. It's a time for reflection on the road traveled. It's been a long and challenging trip this last century for the city that is today's Edmonton. Frontier outpost, fledgling town, staging center for the Yukon Gold Rush, a new provincial capital. People came from all over the world to this haven on the frontier. They came for the promise of a better life and vast potential for growth. In the next half hour, we'll trace Edmonton's first 100 years through the eyes of 3 generations of newcomers, beginning with one of the city's earliest entrepreneurs.
And he saw that potential. He also saw the potential of a place where people could come from all over the world to develop and grow. And he actively promoted that.
We'll look at Edmonton in the exciting days after oil was discovered through the eyes of a Chinese store owner.
Even the kitchen doors are open. You can deliver meat to their places. They told me to put it in the fridge. I put the meat in the fridge for them and the milk. And then they lock the door after. They leave the kitchen door open.
And we'll meet an Edmontonian with a unique vision and capacity to give to the children of his adopted land.
Canada has done so much for me. I haven't even started to give back to Canada what Canada has given to me.
Introducing Power Cutter, the most amazing cutting instrument ever invented. Made from surgical stainless steel, so strong they cut this penny in 2. Yet they cut the finest delicate silk with the greatest of ease. Use it in the kitchen to disjoint chicken, split ribs, and much more. Cuts through thick denim with no effort. How tough are power cutters? Even after a blast from this torch, they will not warp or dull. They just keep on cutting. Ideal for the handyman. Cuts through screening and wire cable with no effort. Rubber or rubber hose, no problem for Power Cutter. Cuts fast and easy. Carpets, linoleum, baseboard. Watch this. Power Cutter cuts them all clean and quick. In the garden, great for pruning plants and cutting flowers. Best of all, they carry a lifetime warranty. Power Cutter is the last pair of scissors you'll ever have to buy. Only $12.99 from K-Tel.
Available at Zellers, Wilco Woolworth, Buy Right Drugs, McLeod's, participating Canadian Tire, Co-op, and Byway stores.
At Christmas, no one adds that special touch to those festive songs like Frank Mills. Now, all of those wonderful songs and carols are captured on a new album from Capitol Records, Christmas with Frank Mills and Friends. Christmas with Frank Mills and Friends makes the perfect holiday gift.
Christmas is a wonderful time to gather with friends and family. I hope you enjoy my new album. I've also included the words so you can sing along.
Christmas with Frank Mills and Friends. 21 of your favorite songs and carols now available on cassette or compact disc. Order now for Christmas delivery.
Call 1-800-465-7829 or send $16.99 for cassette, $19.99 for CD, plus shipping, handling, and GST to Christmas with Frank Mills, Box 1282, Peterborough, Ontario.
John McDougall is walking into his past and the past of his family at Fort Edmonton Park. This store is a recreation of a shop operated by his great-grandfather and partner Richard Secord 100 years ago in the fledgling settlement of Edmonton. John A. McDougall arrived here in 1876 from Ontario.
He arrived first in Winnipeg. He spent a little bit of time there getting his feet wet, and sort of that was the boom town of the West in those days. And then in 1877, literally set out on foot to head across the prairies and got into the Edmonton area and other parts of Alberta, and was so taken by it that in 1879 settled here permanently. There was the fort, and other than that, there were about 40 people living non-native people living outside the fort. So when he brought his wife in 1879, the two of them sort of boosted the population by 5% in one step. What was here? Well, it was a trapping and trading area, and there was a very small sort of agricultural community starting to develop, and that was essentially it.
In the days around the turn of the century, Edmonton was a place full of entrepreneurial spirit and bold initiative, a place reaching for the future.
It turned out that the opportunities in Ontario in those days were perhaps not as great as on the frontier, so that if you had real panache and sort of some degree of risk-taking about you, in fact, I guess an entrepreneurial flair, then you would head off and go to the places where you thought things were going to emerge and develop. And if you guessed right, you did very well, as they did. The early settlers here really did extremely well.
John A. McDougall was so taken with Edmonton, he spent countless days traveling, encouraging other people to locate here.
First of all, he really saw terrific potential here, and you can understand why when you look and you say, look, there's great energy resources here, it's a wonderful agricultural area, there's great open skies, clean air, water, just everything you could ask for, really, if you were trying to build a place. And he saw that potential. He also saw the potential of a place where people could come from all over the world to develop and grow. And he actively promoted that because he saw growth as being an important part of the future of this area.
And grow it did. In 20 years, the city's population skyrocketed from 700 to 70,000. In the midst of the boom, John A. and Richard Secord flourished in the mercantile business.
Your work was quite different in those days because stores per se were not necessarily open all the time. I mean, you didn't go and open the store and then leave. You would open the store because someone wanted something. Now, as the community grew, then it became more of a traditional style, and would keep regular hours and all that kind of thing.
It was a frantic time. In 1908 alone, John A. McDougall struck the deal for Edmonton's famous high-level bridge, orchestrated the setup of the phone exchange, and supervised construction of the city's first streetcar system.
We had terrific leaders in Edmonton's early days. They knew clearly where we were going. They had a strong vision that Edmonton should be the best city in Western Canada. And not only should it be, they were going to make it. So, for example, when the CPR decided to route through Calgary, one reaction would be, well, we could just sort of pack our bags and move to Calgary. But the approach in those days was exactly the opposite. Just to heck with that. And so by the time they're finished, what have they done? They've got 2 transcontinental railroads through Edmonton. They've made it the capital of the province. They have the University of Alberta. They've basically not only taken that problem and turned it around, they've won. One of the, I guess, the benefits and the problems both of being from a pioneer family is that there's a real sense of responsibility, that you don't turn your back on a community that your family has been actively involved in trying to build, and which you can look at and see and say, as a result of actions that were taken by my grandfather, my great-grandfather, whatever, that certain things have happened. So, as I drive by the high-level bridge, I say, well, the deal was done by my great-grandfather. And things like that are very, very important. It means that, in a sense, it gives you something to aspire to, so you want to contribute to your community.
Now he runs McDougall & Secord, Edmonton's oldest family-owned, continually operating company. Is a strong proponent of lessons from the past.
For example, it would be very easy in this time to get very depressed, very worried about the economic troubles that we've got. But I can walk through the books of our family company and I can see a whole series of these things in the past. Edmonton has faced tough times in the past, and I'm sure it will again in the future. The question is, how do we react to those? You find out that, history has a lot to offer in terms of the attitude that existed then. People didn't give up. They sort of looked at the situation and said, how do we change? They didn't say, where are the jobs going to come from? They said, how are we going to create them?
In a country straining at the constitutional threads, in a city now